I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBM, we're diving into the groundbreaking work of Dr. Christopher K. Slaton. His book is called Human System Science in the Best Interest of the Child's Mental Health and Self-Awareness. In the book, the doctor reveals how brain, body, and sense interaction shape a child's mental health and identity. Through the lens of human system science, Dr. Slaton offers powerful insights into fostering resilience, self-awareness, and true growth in our children. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here once again today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Doctor, welcome back. Great to have you on the show once again.
Thank you, and thank you for having me back. I had to come back and see you. You're very inspiring, your questions, and the feedback loops that I've been receiving that took me to another level that helped me write this book. So I want to thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm honored that I could be part of disseminating this wonderful and important message. Let's start out by talking about the idea of the brain as a social organ. Talk to us about that concept.
Well, I really believe that that construct is the experience of self. And I ask the audience to test it for themselves. Because when we're talking about the brain, we're talking about an experience of the external, the social context, the environment. And so I'm external right now, and I'm talking, and you can test every word that I use. The brain is the body. The brain represents the receive path that transforms the body. So we're talking about a state of mind. I'm talking about the social dynamics of the brain, the social cognitive side of the brain. And I'm saying that the transition between the body and the brain is physical and neurological. Now experience that for yourself, because you have to process everything that I'm saying. It has to be transformed. So when I'm talking about mental health, a broad concept, we're talking about how do you teach a child to change states of mind that they've been programmed or trained into behaving through. And that's why we're talking about this subject today.
Absolutely. Why do you believe mental health in children is often misunderstood?
First, the concept. My research goes all the way back. And when you first talk about the mind was associated with labor. And it was not associated with the brain because there was a belief that there was no brain. That's why the early behaviorists believed in the stimulus response. So there was no centerpiece, no process variable. My work establishes the process variable as the brain because you test the sense to receive path function of mental health. You sense to receive, but in between is the self processing from a sense of feel. So you have contact, which is separate from interaction, because when you move to interaction, that's neural systems being acclimated to respond. But if you look at the forefront, what are you talking about? You're talking about a kid who can say, no, I'm not experiencing you. So the sense path, the contact does not get transferred to the brain because the kid is resistant and saying, I'm not participating. And in order for the process to take place, the kid must move through contact, the interaction, and cooperate in the transformation of the neural physics of the child to the brain. Now you have forward feed because the kid is participating. That's why.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the role self-awareness plays in a child's development.
That's exactly what we're really talking about, because the clarity between mental health of the old system that I'm talking about, because we're in the information processing age. And when I say that, I'm talking about information technology has made it so that children don't have to read, they don't have to write, they don't have to talk. The technology does all that for them. So what does that do to the child's brain development? That's what we're talking about. On the other side of that is the neurophysics of self. That's why I'm talking about the neurophysics of self to parents, educators, and others, because that's what the child has to begin to be taught through. I say talk to the brain. I'm talking about the neural, physical, rotations between the body and the brain so that everybody understands we're no longer dealing with the body because the body is a programmed state. And that's exactly what IT is. It's programming the child's body and brain. It doesn't have to do any thinking. That's the state of mind. So it's continuing the behaviors model of the old and saying, we're going to think for you. All you have to do is pick up this device, push the button, give us your idea, and we're going to do everything for you. We'll read it for you, we'll write it for you, we'll draw it for you, we will act it out for you. They want to do the whole. So what does a child do to evolve into their human potential? Naturally, I'm saying to you, you teach them how to learn their brain so they begin to transition and understand how to interface with technology. That's what we're talking about when we talk about mental health in the 21st century, because I'm saying if we don't begin to talk to the child's brain, then what happens to their actual mental development? If we continue to say it's okay for you to lock into digital systems and let them talk for you, and you're not learning how to communicate. You're not learning how to do math. You're not learning how to write competently. You're not doing these things because the minute you turn into the computer, it does it all for you. And it's all
I
smoke
believe the
from there.
brain atrophies, right?
Absolutely. This is
Yeah.
what we're talking about. And that's exactly why I had to get on this continuum. And I'm talking about brain science, but I'm talking about human system science because our children are human systems and no one deals with that. That means they are brain, body, sense messaging processes going on that allow their technology to compete with IT. And I'm saying to you in the book, Breath of Life, I'm saying that we're losing too many children before they get to age 3 because they're programmed from the breath of life forward. They are trained on how to react, not respond, just react to contact interaction. And if they don't, they're punished. But I'm saying to you in the book, let's give children an opportunity to evolve before you begin to program the brain. Let the brain be in the lead of the body because when the infant is born, the brain interacts with the environment. The brain's in the receive path and is leading the transaction. But the minute the child breathes, then man says, no, now you have to accept programming, socialization, and learn how to live with us. No, you have to learn how to live with that child, allow that child to methodically evolve from where they are. You're not giving up any power. What you're saying is, I must learn how to sense and feel my child's experience so that I can become a more effective leader to my child as they advance toward socialization variables, school, and so forth and so on. So we're talking about in the book.
How can parents recognize when a child's sense and receive path functions are damaged?
Resistance, confusion. I mean, I read Hilda Tubber, and it was really fascinating. Now, her book was in 1949. And when I read her, and she's an academic, and when I was reading her and she was explaining how children become confused in the classroom, it set me really, really back on looking at the social cognitive side in relation to John Dewey's schools of thought, where he's talking about the community and all that and how it participates in child development. And it set me back to begin to understand sense and receive path, formulations, and then the process variable. The process variable was absent because the cognitive school of Chicago was talking about the process variable, talking about cognitive science and trying to shape behaviorism to accept the fact that there is a brain and the brain leads to transaction, not the body. That's what I'm saying here. I'm saying that parents and teachers have to get into the 21st century because now they're in the information processing age. How better to teach a child to process complex information that involves IT as a core dynamic of interaction, interfacing into the future without understanding how to process the program.
Talk to us a little bit about the difference between social learning and academic learning.
Now, as I go forward, I want parents to understand in the book, I'm grounding you because I'm saying to you, home, school, neighborhood, and workplace environments are economic variables. So I'm saying the system works. But when you talk about the brain, you ground the child's experience in the home. in the school, in the neighborhood, and the workplace as their learning systems. So they're grounded as they explore the brain. They're grounded because they practice experiencing contact in the home. They practice experiencing interaction in the school. They practice cooperation in the neighborhood, and they practice participating in the workplace. And the switch is that the workplace is each one of those environments. So you're preparing them occupational growth and development, brain first, because what are you doing? You're preparing the brain to move through our social systems more effectively and not having to postpone reality, because we're in the IT age where children can stop going to school at age 6 like they were doing back in the early 20s and being successful because the system is set up that you can be an entrepreneur now. You can advance education having never entered inside a classroom because the technology is just that advanced, and parents will have that type of wealth, can provide that type of opportunity where a kid graduates at age 14 versus other children who are not doing it, and be more intact because they don't have to go through homeschool, and workplace networks to do it, which I call the killing fields, if you're not grounding the child and learning how to process peer pressure, teasing, bullying, gang assimilation, drugs. If you're not teaching them how to process those experiences so they can respond, not react, they react, that means that they're working through your training. You have to teach them how to respond to the negative influences that are coming at them by allowing them to learn how to process contact interaction strategically.
This book is important for parents, but of course, it's important for schools as well. Talk to us about how schools can use your research to better support students.
Because the shift right now is in how do we make it easier for children to move through our school system. So we want to bring the home into the school. And each one of these things that I'm talking about, homeschool, neighborhood, are environmental learning systems that integrate into. But the problem is you, you use them as programs. No, children are process systems. You have to let them process the experience. If you have a kid who's in crisis because their parents are on drugs, you don't go to the kid and try to program the kid and they're not responding to the parent. You go to the kid and teach the kid how to sense and receive the experience of the parent and make better choices and decisions. Same thing with the next environment. If a kid is involved in school failure, you want to teach that kid how to experience that challenge and learn how to process and accept the F and realize they can do better. Because the F is superficial, they haven't applied themselves. That's what you're teaching them when you teach them how to use the brain. They know how to learn through the experience of self and others. This is all key. So those dynamics you're talking about are all environmental, and they integrate into what I call human systems research, which is the human system and man-made systems integrating so that children and parents can understand the crisis of self, which is sense and receive path damage.
Seems like mental health problems among children are at an epidemic level nowadays. You have children that are completely withdrawn, who are afraid to interface, who are just locked onto that computer screen 24/7. And then on the other side of it, you have people who are detached and extremely violent as well. I mean, we see an epidemic of violence in our schools and in our society. How much of this do you think is because we ignore the importance of human system science?
I say that there's a great deal of it. If you just look at our format system, our socialization system, personality, attitude, and character is what we search for. Mm-hmm. But if you teach a child how to process their personality, understanding that it has to be flexible so they can move through challenges and understand that you're not going to feel this way all the time. Some kids turn to drugs, for example, because of the way that the system, chemicals in the body react to being recognized, and they go through fluctuations. I'm saying you teach a child to process the experience of self, personality, so when they understand that the attitude, the emotional side of the context of being human allows them to actually manage the flow of energy, action, and feelings through their system. Now you're getting to understand personality, attitude, now character, the physical self. When you transform, for example, when we were soldiers, I love that movie because Mel Gibson sits up there and his men are shooting everybody's shooting, and he's standing up there and he's saying to his men, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, the tables turn, but he's showing you character. His brain is processing the environment. His men are dying. He's responding in every single direction because he has processed the information of the environment, and he's using himself physically as an example of what his men should be doing at this particular point in time. Bam! So we're talking about transitioning from personality to attitude to character and displaying a specific type of behavior that can be processed by the observers. That's what we're talking about. That's why I say instead of program, our children have to learn how to be processors of the program. That includes man-made systems and the IT systems.
It's important research. This is an important book. It is called Human System Science in the Best Interest of the Child's Mental Health and Self-Awareness. It is written by a terrific author. You just heard him here today. He's got a lot of passion when it comes to this topic and a lot of expertise as well, Dr. Christopher K. Slaton. And his book is a must-read for parents, educators, and anyone invested in raising resilient, self-aware children. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, thank you. In the best interest of children, I am glad to be on this campaign to talk about the brain, talk about the body, and talk about the senses as a technology in the 21st century, dealing with IT and having these challenges that you expressed in terms of mental health dysfunctions at every single level. So in closing, I would say that the experience of the parent is unique because the parent puts the child in a certain state of mind that then disadvantages them if they're not teaching them how to move through the crisis itself. Parent is in crises, transferring their negative experiences to the child without understanding they have to teach the child to process that experience of them. That's what we're talking about. Mental health.
It's that important work, and you have articulated it so well here today. Doctor, I appreciate your time and your insight. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.